I'm right on time. That's what I look like. I have not ever seen Twister. I saw Twisters though with that boy. What's his name? Glenn Powell. And I don't know. I don't know why one would or wouldn't see one or the other.
The original.
Yeah. Who's the original? Bill Hickson?
Bill Paxton.
Paxton.
And Helen Hunt.
Hmm.
And Philip Seymour Hoffman is in it. It's a fine feature film, and I recommend it.
Doesn't Philip Seymour Hoffman play the tech nerd guy in this one?
He's one of them.
Okay, like the one though, like cause
he's just fun. He's like kind of crazy in it.
He went on to have like really important roles. That seems like a sort of lesser role.
You would think, but he's the heart of the film, in my opinion.
Is he? Okay. Yeah. Is that a Michael Bay production? Twister?
So.
Oh,
I don't know.
Jerry Bruckheimer.
Okay, yeah.
Might be Jerry Bruckheimer.
Yeah. Anyhow, I think you ought to see it. That's where I've landed on that.
Did I miss the haircut, Kerry? It's awesome.
Thank you.
Happy solstice. Yeah, I just got a message from someone saying it's like the beginning of summer. I didn't know that.
See, I wore my hair up so much that people now don't realize I actually cut it. So that just is a sign that it was too long for too long.
Too long for too long. So we're live just to check in, just to say hi. Also talk a little bit about some of the projects that we're working on, because we're going to launch that whole new channel that we talked about, the Pokestop Stories one. And we went out, we did a little bit of filming to start it up. We're going to do a couple full episodes and have those ready to go. What did we do? What is one of the first episodes we're tackling?
Well, this is a little tricky. So our plan is to present several Pokestop stories in one episode. So we'll be here to kind of glue it together for you based on the theme. So one of my first themes is haunted houses, because I like that stuff. So I had to hunt up a few haunted houses and then go check them out. Some of them you cannot get into. So, they're reputedly haunted houses. So I went and looked at the outside of them. I'm like, I guess. And that's what I have so far. I have scripted them. I've got all the lore and that kind of stuff.
Nice.
So, yeah. So that's kind of my first.
And we shot the footage and all that.
Yeah. No, I'm not saying I don't have anything. Like, I just haven't. I need it to be edited.
Right.
Is what it amounts to.
Right.
Yeah.
And again, it's not, you don't have to know or care anything about Pokemon to be on this. The premise of it is that we will start with spinning a Pokestop, and from that kind of branch into something interesting. So,
because that's how we discover these things.
Right.
So what I found, this was actually kind of fun. There's this Pokestop that I love in Portsmouth, New Hampshire, just because it's pretty and I love old houses. It's one of the reputedly haunted houses. So now that becomes a Pokestop story that aligns with a theme. Or it could just be as simple as we're down on the Boston waterfront and there's any number of really interesting Pokestops down there that all have stories. So I love this because I get to go down like a bunch of little nerd rabbit holes. For sure. And when I look through some of mine, I mean, you could go in a lot of directions. Like one of the stops I have is for a fast food place called the Clam Box. So we could do a whole episode of seafood. Probably not just the Clam Box, but we could definitely do it about like seafood or regional food choices or something like that. I'm looking at the chat. Joanne says happy solstice. Yeah. And Joanne's like, that's right. It's a Pokemon thing. So yeah, kind of, I guess would be my answer to that. Like Pokemon's how we discover these, but it's not the focus of the. You don't have to like Pokemon basically to do this, with us. You have to like history a little, I guess. They're not even all history. Some of them are just cool places that we like, art installations. Sure. That we wouldn't have found. Right. Or like I said, at the Clam Box, there's also Agawam Diner, like, so we could give like little Massachusetts diners, drive-ins and dives or whatever that thing is. I will say this. I have been surprised at having gone to a place fully expecting really interesting Pokestops to discover that people will take photos of plaques. It's incredibly disappointing. It's like a plaque on a beautiful historic home and you photograph the plaque. Meaning, just to make that a little more clear, when you go to spin the stop, what you take a photo of is what shows up when you spin the stop. So, correct. For instance, that's the Clam Box. It's a picture of the building. In Kerry's case, what she's saying is, so imagine you come up on this really cool artistic building and you just see the word Clam Box zoomed up really close in a photo. So I tend not to keep them. So I'm going to look and see if I have any like examples for y'all. But yes, it's disappointing. But when we do the segment, we can show you the cool house. It's just, it'll be a little underwhelming. Pokemon video.
For instance, all summer long, there's a place called Spencer Pierce Little Farm that has 1864 era baseball. So we're going to go out, we're going to do a segment on the baseball. We're going to cover that, talk to the people, that sort of thing. But when you see the stop, it's this brown with white text sign on the side of the road. It's the grossest looking picture. So the point being, there's more to finding these stories than the actual art on the little
I tend to keep the ones that are good and get rid of the ones that are boring. But like, this is an example. It is a sign with text on it. Like, thanks. I will say this too. I was disappointed that a Pokestop for an ancient path to a smallpox burial ground, the whole thing was a rock with a plaque on it. There is no path anymore. I don't even think there's a burial ground anymore. It's like, hey, this is where we think maybe something used to be. So that's disappointing all around. I don't even.
Yeah, and it was a crazy storyline too, because they said wherein which we buried 11 people and such and closed out a couple of buildings and whatever. Like, it seemed like a story
in like 1775 to 1781. So we're like, we found the one group of people that had bigger problems than the Civil War going on.
Revolutionary
War going on. We found the group, and you gave us a rock with a plaque.
Yeah, it could have been a little more fun. But even in the real world, not in the video game, literally just a rock. So there's nothing to look at there.
So disappointing. I looked too. I was like, oh, where's this path? There's no path. It's like somebody's backyard now.
So we did find, and for one of the upcoming shows, we did find a really nice castle kind of a thing with a beautiful view. We found a purportedly haunted house in Salem, Massachusetts, where every third house seems like it has a haunted story.
It's true, but this one is supposed to be like the most haunted. The people who live there even say it is the most haunted.
For sure. So that's what we're working on. Beyond that, I know you've got some work that you're doing at work. The office work for school. So you've been quite busy. Yeah, well, you got
we have a leadership program at Appfire, and it takes 9 months to complete. And the last part is a group project. And if you have bad memories of group projects, you understand the challenges involved. But we're coming to the end. It's going to be fun. It's done in the next couple of weeks. So I haven't gone on as many adventures as I would like, because I've been like pretty heavily occupied with that when I wasn't doing work, actual work.
Tied up, yeah.
Except for that. But I love these things. And I took a quick jaunt very early morning out to take a look at what was supposed to be a sort of haunted house, only to discover that it's like, people say maybe, yeah, it could be, I don't know. But there's no like stories about we see a woman in black or like, none of that. They're just like, oh yeah, it's kind of spooky after dark. And you're like, dude, every old house is kind of spooky after dark. So.
And some of the quotes that were captured on this potential possible haunted house were things like, when they stopped playing music, it was eerily quiet.
For like 2 seconds until people pick it up again. Come on.
When there's no noise, there's less noise. Whoa. Let's go for it.
There was, when I was growing up, and I might have to go find this if it's still there. There was a place everybody said was haunted, and nobody would even go there to look at it. And so when I got to the point where I could like Google stuff, because that became a thing, it was like, what do they call them? It was like a fat farm, basically, where you could go and like an extreme diet. I'm like, what? I mean, the property wasn't originally that, obviously, but like, oh yeah, it's haunted. I'm like, can you imagine? You're probably hallucinating because you're starving.
So it was haunted by a couple of devil dogs or something, like a couple of ho-hos.
I was like, come on, these people are food deprived and stressed out and on sugar withdrawal and stuff. They're going to see things.
That's a question, right? What is behind haunted houses in general? What do you pay attention to that a little bit? What do you think is the reasoning? Why are people obsessed with them? Why do we continue to this day to think there's probably a haunted house out there?
There's a couple of things at play. First of all, it's the kind of place that we think is creepy has to do with it being old, at least in part. So for our generation, that's like Victorian homes, like old neglected Victorian homes for whatever reason. For the new generations, like Gen Alpha, they tend to think that big empty office buildings or warehouses are super scary. And so you'll see a lot of they call them liminal,
Liminal
like empty
spaces.
places. Yeah. So there's whole games about things like that, like the back room. So big empty office spaces are scary. And what's even in there? So there's some of that. I think the other part of it, for me anyway, the appeal is history. I love old stories, like who shot who in front of the saloon outside Chicago in 1820. Like I like that stuff. Some people do, some people don't, but we're all wired to love stories. So I think that's a big part of it too.
That's interesting. So we kind of apply our psychic energy to these places. Otherwise, you know what you were saying though, we are sort of tuned to think of Victorian homes as haunted.
Mhm.
I was thinking as you keep going back in hundreds, like there's someone out there that's like, that old thatched hut on the curb. You know what I mean? Like there was a point where the previous 3 generations ago kind of housing was haunted. At some point you're getting to someone thinking a cave is haunted, but
So true.
Mm.
Another thing that we've discovered along this journey is that houses tend to, obviously some of them evolve because they burn down and they have to like build on or something, a new thing. Sometimes fashion changes and a society wife will be like, I can't live in an Italian revival style mansion anymore. Get rid of it. We're going to build a Stuart mansion here instead. And it crushes me. Like my little historian heart breaks every time I see it.
Well, I mean, Spencer Pierce Little, there's a stone part that was built in the late 1600s, and then there's a wood part because the wife said the stone part's too old and will be sick and damp. And yeah, it was just like, he buys her a beautiful house on 200 and something acres.
Historic home.
Right.
Yes. And it's an amazing example of the architecture of the time and everything. And it is stone and brick. But holy wow, she's like, nah, don't like it.
Make me a new house.
But I'm so relieved that they did not destroy the old one to build the new one. So let's hear it for like Yankee Thrift, right? They were like, no, we'll build on.
They built on.
Yeah, so thank goodness. So now we have 2 examples of his like homes from certain periods, and they're like glued together.
So we'll have the new Pokestop Stories channel launching soon. We'll show you how to get to it from here. I still have my Photography as Meditation channel, where in which we go out, and I have a new episode of that coming up, where my 2 kids took me to see the zoo in York, Maine, to take photos of animals and things like that.
How big is the zoo in York, Maine?
It's a pretty small zoo. But look, there's a lion, there's tigers, there's alligators.
Is there a polar bear?
No polar bears. That's a Stone Zoo has that.
No, we used to, and then Major passed away.
Oh, one of the 2 lions died, but he lived a very long life. I guess lions live 10 years, and this one lived 20.
Very long. Oh, so he was comfortable when it's
You'll love this, Kerry. I lived in a 15th century thatched roof house in England for a year.
Oh, I love it.
It burned down some years later. I understand it's no haunted feeling though.
Not haunted feeling.
No haunted feeling there.
It is interesting to think about. So when we were young, it was Victorians. And then when our parents were young, what would it have been?
It's a good question.
So if they were young in like
Victorian is like 1740 or so? Is that, so does that mean that's 240 or so years difference from where we were?
So what did they think was creepy? Like Tudor style homes?
Yeah, that's a good question. It's a good question.
Ooh, there's a whole American Horror Story season set in a hotel, and the hotel is like an Art Deco
one, yeah.
type of hotel.
It's a good one.
Yeah.
1830s-ish is Victorian. Oh, 1830. Oh, I'm way off.
1830s. Well, Tudor, which is my favorite, is more like 1500s. So I stay pretty tightly
close to that when you can.
Focused on that when I can.
Cool. Well, that's it. That's all we got for you. Thanks for coming by, watching us, check in with you.
Hey, at least we made it horizontal this time.
Yeah,
landscape orientation.
We didn't go phone style this time. So
I might do it again. I was tempted this time.
Yeah, it's fun to go out.
Because it's kind of fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of fun.
Joanne, thanks for contributing in the chat, and everybody else, we'll see you around. Take care of yourself. Be good. Bye.